pleasure to be here. So I'm going to talk about a few things today. Some rates, interest rates, especially with today and yesterday, what's been going on. It should be interesting news for you. Also talk about some products, jumbos, first and seconds. There's a hobby farm out, so I'll go a little bit in detail of that. I went around, I made some phone calls, sent some emails, or stopped by your office asking what you wanted to hear about today. And the number one response I got was just the process of the loan file and the flow of the file. So I'll spend most of the time on that. If you guys have any details or want to go more depth in interest rates, Fed, market, products, I'd be happy to do so. Just visit me in the corner there. So this morning we're down 44 basis points. What does that mean? Interest rates are going up. It's been interesting just looking at the year of 2018, starting in January, coming into the new year. We saw a pretty rapid increase in interest rate, especially going into February. It really kind of leveled out. March looked good for us. April was looking well, and we're starting to see them rise again. And the reason for that is due to the government's pulling back on buying those bonds. We really kind of relied on them, and we saw a really bounce back from the mortgage credit crisis in 2008 from the government buying those bonds. So with the changes that are coming, we're really seeing that put pressure on those interest rates with rising interest rates. Where do we expect them to go? We are expecting 2 more hikes. So do expect another hike in June and probably another one in fall. So where are we? Approximately 4.99% as of this morning on your standard 30 conventional conforming loan. 15-year, you're about 4 3/8. And government loans, you're looking at slightly better interest rates. We can go into jumbo. Jumbo is actually pretty well priced, just slightly above your prime rate there. A hobby farm loan. For years, I've been so used to saying, it's over 10 acres and it's income producing. No, we can't do it. We have a hobby farm loan now. So it goes a standard of minimum of 5 acres up to 160. In circumstances, we will consider over 160 acres. The maximum loan amount is your typical $2 million. We will, with compensating factors and with a 55 or lower LTV, your loan to value, we will go over $2 million loan amount. And income producing meaning a minimum of $500 a year. That's it. Yeah, so let me know if you have questions on that. 680 minimum FICO score on. Yes.
Do you have 2 houses on it?
Yes. Yeah. We'll do barns, stables, silos. All of those are considered and okay with different structures. Yep. Loan process. So first and foremost, super easy to get the loan application on file. We'll start with the loan application, just the pertinent information, employment, income, how long you've been in your line of work. I'll take a look at that initial submitted application. You can do it online, we can knock it off with a phone call or meet in person, whichever the borrower prefers. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. Once we have that loan application on file, I'll peruse it, take a quick look, see what we're looking at to request the initial set of requested items, whether that be a month of pay stubs, 2 years W-2s, or 2 years 1040s if they're self-employed. Need K-1s, 1065s, just depending on how the business is set up. I'll request all those items, mortgage statements, insurance deck pages, or your property taxes for any properties owned. Once credit is pulled, so your application is submitted, we pull the credit report and peruse that. On the hobby farm, no BKs, foreclosures, or any derogatory will fly on that, but we'll take a look and see if there's any documents that we need in addition to support their credit report. We can go as low as 580 on government loans. Your standard conventional, you need a minimum of 620. A lot of people have questions on how that affects interest rates. The 740 plus will put you in the best tier for interest rates. If you do have mortgage insurance, less than 20% down, then you will have a 780 plus will be your best bracket. So we got that application on file, then we start our verifications. We've got all the supporting documents. You need a Social Security verification, an IRS tax verification, verification of employment or Social Security, just depending on what that income is that we'll be looking at. So we're waiting on third parties during this process, especially during this tax time. The IRS verifications can take up to 6-8 weeks. So getting those going as soon as possible is crucial. We can do all of this process prior to even finding subject property. I have a lot of buyers that are interested and they're out shopping, but they're waiting for that perfect property. Encourage your buyers to submit an application. Let's make sure all of our ducks are in a row before we write that offer. There's many benefits as to why we want to do it that way. So first and foremost, get your application in. We'll get the supporting documentation. We'll start the verification process. Once all of those verifs are in, we submit your file to underwriting. Right now we're at 24 hours. So we'll get our underwriting approval. This may all be done prior to having property. So then what do we have left to do? Just find that house. You need the appraisal and the preliminary title report. And then you can go straight to docs. So it's a quicker process to get everything done ahead of time. So much less stress on everybody to have it all done. They can focus on their real estate contract, inspections, whatever you need them to work on. We can just lay off the lending paperwork because we've done it all ahead of time prior to even getting in the contract. In a competitive market, I know we're not seeing as much of that up in this area, but shall you be in a multiple offer situation, it really gives you that extra stamp on your pre-approval letter. You've been underwritten and approved, your income, your assets, your down, everything's been verified. It really stands above the rest. So once we've gotten everything through underwriting, we've got our property, you get your appraisal going, we've got our prelim title report, you go through underwriting for a final clear to close. Once everything is signed off, we'll issue what's called the closing disclosure. This is your CD. This is what took place when TRID took over the GFE and TIL. So that's your good faith estimate, and the TILA is your Truth in Lending Act. So the TRID is TILA RESPA, Real Estate Procedures Act, Integrated Disclosures. What is that? CD. That's your closing disclosure. So this breaks down all the final fees. What can the buyer expect as far as their monthly payment, their total cash to close, what inspections are getting paid for. That's another big topic to keep in mind for agents writing their contract. If you put on that contract a pest inspection, as a lender, we will request that inspection. So any inspections will need to go through the underwriter. If there's anything on there that could be red flagged, maybe buyer and seller agreed they don't want to do all the work and we want to avoid getting that inspection into the underwriter, then we can get an addendum. Buyer and seller both waive their right to the inspection and clearance, and we don't have to submit that report. But be aware, if it is on your contract, we will request it. And if you want to take the safe route, leave it off the contract or plan on getting an addendum to waive it, and then we don't have to worry about any potential red flags there or holding up an escrow. So you get your closing disclosure, it gets acknowledged by the buyer. This is typically an e-sign document, or they may prefer to wet sign it. As soon as that's acknowledged, we have 3 days before they can sign their loan documents. So say that be a Friday that they get their CD, you can count Saturday and you do not count holidays. So if we sign on a Friday, we can count Saturday, Monday, Tuesday is your third day they may sign loan documents. If they sign in the morning, give me a heads up, let me know, we can do a same day funding. So an early signing, same day funding. You're not seeing a lot of that, so I think that's really neat about Evergreen. And once you fund, you record. Get your keys. And that's basically the loan process there. Any topics maybe that I missed or that you have questions on you want me to cover? Did I go too fast? A lot of information.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.